OK, this is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne. Good morning at 8:46. We're going through the headlines now with author Emma Wolfe and journalist Ella Whelan. Good morning to you
again.
both.
Good morning.
Can we have a look, Ella, at Michael Gove? Because this has reared its ugly head a few times. Not Michael Gove. But he was attacked yesterday.
Yes, walking through Victoria Station, obviously at a time when London was full of lots of protesters, and was sort of, manhandled by some pro-Palestine protesters. Police had to intervene. He's said, and some of his aides have said, that they really saved his bacon, the police, that it got quite hairy at some point.
I just wonder why he was doing that. If you're a minister, and particularly a minister with a very recognisable face, why would you, on a particularly difficult day in London, just sort of think, oh, I can walk, do my usual thing, walk to Victoria and catch
in the very heart of the, Pimlico, Westminster, Victoria really was the epicentre of a lot of the marches. And he is recognisable, as you say. It does seem an odd decision, security-wise,
Very strange.
It does, but there's no excuse.
No,
you
there's no
can't go
excuse.
harassing people like that.
No excuse. And obviously the Mail has picked up on the fact that there has been discussion about safety for politicians, in the extreme cases related to David Amess. But there has also been instances of politicians being sort of jostled and treated unfairly by people around Westminster. But I suppose the offshoot discussion from this is that while there's no excuse for manhandling a politician or anyone really for that kind of behaviour, there is this sort of question of why has this happened, and whether or not the Mail links to the fact that there has allegedly been poppy sellers who were intimidated and that kind of thing. And the question is that something that was always going to happen, or was there sort of a bit of a panic built up around people's safety and then it sort of played out in real time? Footage of people in, I think it was Liverpool Street Station, selling poppies, being surrounded by protesters. And whether or not that, whether or not it was, I don't want to say a storm in a teacup, but things build a momentum when politicians in particular, I'm linking obviously to Suella Braverman, but others, hype up the fear factor, and then it almost makes it a reality when it wouldn't necessarily have had to happen.
There's an element of that needs to be looked into.
I mean, the front page of the Sunday People, picture of Suella Braverman, and they're saying, look what you've done.
And this, and my choice was the front page of the Mirror, which I think is really, and it's quite similar to that, but it's very irresponsible. Sack her now. This idea that Suella Braverman, whatever you think of her, whatever you think of what she said in her very controversial article in the Times on Thursday or Friday, you can't pretend that she's responsible for this. We have to remember that the far-right thugs, that any counter-protesters, anyone on the march who committed violence, who caused unrest, was responsible for what they did. To me, this is straying into the territory where you blame a rapist because a woman is wearing a short skirt or is drunk. They are responsible for what they did. Suella Braverman may have gone rogue. She may have said things that she shouldn't have said as Home Secretary. People can have their opinions on that. But you can't blame her for inciting a right-wing mob. That's not what she was doing.
I don't know. Is that... What do you think?
I have sympathy with that position. I also think that if you are the Home Secretary and you decide to, before a big policing operation, write an article which is,
saying what
meant to...
so many people were thinking.
Sure, saying what so many people are thinking. But, in your role, I think that you can't expect there to be no blowback if that's your role. If your role as Home Secretary, if you're just me or you saying what we like, it doesn't have the same effect as what Suella says. But I think that Emma makes the key point about agency, and obviously people have exercising their own agency. The interesting thing is... Obviously, I don't think anyone is under any illusion that Suella Braverman is doing anything other than trying to get to the position of the top job. I mean, she is really
that's
muscling...
what it's about.
Yeah, she's muscling in like hell at the moment. I mean, she's... actually, in The Observer, it's got quotes from some unnamed Tory MPs talking about the fact that she's trying to get fired. That's the line that some believe.
And then become a sort of...
And become the sort of
right-wing hero.
But the interesting thing, actually, the latter half of Suella's article was slightly mad, but the beginning half about the fact that they're questioning whether the police events differently, crack down on football fans, very, very light touch with Just Stop Oil. Crack down on lockdown protesters, very light touch with Black Lives Matter. Those queries are something that a lot of people are asking.
Yeah.
But it's whether or not to then go on. You then the sort of consequences. You did have people chanting yesterday, "Shame on you! You've let your country down" at police officers.
Yes, I know. That was terrible.
Yeah. Let's change tack, should we? Emma, what are you getting for the 12th day of Christmas?
I don't know, but there's going to be festive chaos. Once again, and I feel like we do this every single year, once again, the railways. But this is the worst ever, apparently. This is going to be one of the worst Christmas works schedules on the railways ever. 5 main lines are going to be closed, and there's a horror list. They're literally calling it a horror list of projects. This is really difficult. Obviously, you have to do work on the railways. You have to maintain the railways at a time when it's maybe less busy, fewer people going to work, although not many people go to work in offices these days, so I'm not sure that... Anyway, but we also know that at Christmas, people are going out shopping. They're trying to get home. Travellers, 15 million travellers are going to be trying to get home. And between Christmas and New Year, there is this horror list with huge amounts of engineering works affecting travellers on the main lines.
And they want to get us back on the train.
And they want to get us back on the trains.
Ridiculous.
And people are going to be, sat on coal platforms on that sort of getaway on Christmas Eve, the Boxing Day thing, when you're trying to get back, all of that. So
maybe
here we go again.
Maybe we should all head to Italy.
Oh, I wouldn't want to at the moment.
Yeah, with some protective armour.
Yeah, there's a lion on the loose.
You do know that zoo escapes are more common than you'd think. I was actually looking it up, and it's not such an unusual event. But a lion was filmed prowling the streets of Ladisopoli, I hope I'm saying that right, which is near Rome, out at night, and the local authorities told them to stay.
Wow, so you look out your window and there's
like
a lion walking down the high street.
Get out.
It's absolutely terrifying. I don't know why.
Wow.
Maybe some animal rights person who's watching can tell me why the lion wasn't immediately tranquilised and brought to safety.
Is he still on the loose, do we know?
No, he was eventually captured. That was Saturday evening. Everything is fine. The lion's fine. No one got hurt. But I was looking up escaped animals, and while that is pretty terrifying, this is one of my favourite stories. In 2016, a big gorilla in London Zoo broke out. He didn't break out into public, but he broke out into the keeper's enclosure, and the havoc that he wrecked on everything amounted to he drank 5 litres of undiluted blackcurrant squash. That's what he wanted to do. And then was eventually ushered back into his enclosure.
Now he's a type 2 diabetic.
A bit high on sugar.
Lovely. Ella, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Going to check on your weather.